Oh, sorry, my bad. Look, I've said before, I'll say it 1,000 times. That countdown has just the hottest little.
This guy.
I love it, man. I don't care. However you bring in your joy, bring it in, man. However you bring that flavor
I
in.
see, brother. I see.
You know what I'm saying? Welcome once again to another thrilling episode of Fandom Initiative. First off, you're welcome. Thank you. That's the type of vibe I'm having today. We have an incredible guest today. So happy for this one. But let's get these introductions out of the way. The man across from me, this guy over here. This guy. He is the cinema CEO. He is the cinema god. He is also one half of the tag team champions of the world, along with Lady Mina, the cinema empresa. Come on, Eileen.
I told you to pitch that to her already, brother. I keep telling you that.
Come on, Irene. Oh, I swear. I don't know why that song's in my head. I'm sorry. Lady Mina also has a podcast called Politicking for the Culture, Mina and Mawa. She's also tag teaming with this gentleman on a podcast called, guess what? The AMC A-Listers. This gentleman is Michael Williams.
What's up, y'all?
What is going on? Yes, that beard, sir. That beard is... You getting all the...
It's almost time for the spring cut down.
We don't... No. We need viewers, brother. We need viewers. We need that facial hair, brother. We need that facial hair for the viewers, brother. All right. And myself, I am the hungriest man in the room. You can take that however you want it. I am the Hungry Bleak. I also have a podcast that I have called the Hungry Bleak Podcast. I'm sorry, that was the most inventive thing I could think of that day. I'm just saying. I'm not Michael. Michael has way better titles than naming stuff, for real. I also have a segment on the Zion Network on Sundays at about 6:15 called The Lit Pick, where I just give comic book recommendations. Myself, I am Antonio Pomares.
And he's also got headshots on Instagram. Check out his check out his IG.
I'm definitely gonna start doing like those ebony jetpack.
Oh my god!
Yes, sir.
And you can do ebony now because it's all digital, brother. So you just send your shots in.
I will definitely. Oh, I have an idea for. I have a week off, and I have things I want to do besides binging podcasts that I've subscribed to, and comics I want to read, and movies I want to read. There are a couple of ideas I actually want to try and flesh out, and maybe start one of them. I don't know, what have you. We'll see what happens, sir. We have a very special guest today.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know how to give her a proper introduction. I feel like we need the gods to come down. And I don't mean the cinema god. I mean like the gods of the pantheon to come down.
You need her to help. You need her to be escorted on a throne by the Valkyries.
I need some exalted bath salts on the floor, red carpet. I need feasts. I need like the jesters and the flamethrowers, all of it. Podcasting, fashion mogul, children's book, comic books. And I know there's more. I'm sure there's more. And general badass also. Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary, gender fluid folks, this is Moana McAdams.
Hi, everybody. That intro, like, oh my God. Come on. You're doing too much.
I'm always doing too much. I am always doing too much, damn it. Let me get a better view here. Boom, there we go.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Thank you so much for being on. It feels so weird for the two of us, like Michael and myself, we're inside like, oh yeah, it's like 40 degrees. Moana's like, yeah, whatever. Just chilling outside, just soaking in all the sun. But I dig that. I feel that. I dig that flow. How are you doing today, Moana?
I'm doing great. I got the rays of Ra with me, and yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it.
This is what I'm talking about. So again, thank you for joining us on this Saturday. It's a beautiful sunny day. So it just apropos that we have you on this show because you are just sunlight beaming. I'm going to do too much. This episode is about doing too much, damn it. And I'm going to do too much.
All righty.
You have a Kickstarter for your podcast. give us a rundown on what the podcast is about and the tiers and such and the benefits of the Kickstarter for you and how that's going to help you out.
Okay, yeah, sure. So my friend Dana and we host the Moana Nui Podcast. We started it late last year.
Mhm.
And it's essentially a love letter to Indigenous people. The whole reason why we wanted to start it is because, we need more outlets for Indigenous voices, being able to talk to the people who are behind a lot of the fandoms that we all love, because oftentimes the real life people who work on it and who put all of their love and energy into it get drowned out in the background and overshadowed by the brands, the big name brands. But those brands are nothing without the people who are working on it, right? That's where all the value is. So what I wanted to do was create an outlet where we could sit down with some of these people, just like we are right now, and let's talk to them about not just the projects that they're working on, but who they are, where their influences, how do their cultural and their experiences, real life experiences, affect the way in which they create, all these wonderful properties that we all enjoy, and really creating a platform for Indigenous people to unite together and build community and just, be who we are in a safe space, and, where it's all love. And I'm all about family. So that's how I try to, incorporate into everything that I do, whether it be the podcast or, the children's book or the fashion that I do. I try to incorporate family into all of that. So
That's cool.
yeah. So like in terms of the rewards, we got all kinds of stuff. You can get, we got digital properties, so you can get like digital copies of our comic books and our children's book, or you can get the episodes early because, the way we kind of format it is we do it live on our page on YouTube and on Twitch, but then we edit it down for, the actual podcast platforms.
Mhm.
So folks can get like all of the things all at once. We have amazing guests on the show. Like last night? Thursday. We had, if folks are fans of the Warrior series that's now on HBO Max, we had Father June on the podcast. So like, that was amazing. And he's going to come back for Asian American Pacific Islander month in May. So yeah, we're super excited. We got those things. We got, cool swag. We got lanyards, USB drive shirts, hoodies. I know Antonio loves hoodies, so
he does.
And this season, so we're doing season 2, and this season we're trying to incorporate some rewards that come from our guests. So like Michael Watson does Chat and Draw, where he brings people on and he draws their characters and stuff. You can, get a session with him. I think we're also trying to bring on some like social media consulting services for people who are trying to build their brand and expand their audience from, her name is slipping me right now, Renee Murphy.
Okay.
And so it's just a whole lot coming. I hope you guys will support it. For the viewers watching, it is launching on March 22nd. We had to push it back a little bit. Some stuff came up. But you can follow it right now at moananuipodcast.com. The preview link is live for Kickstarter, and check that out so you can get all the early notifications when we do launch.
That's awesome. And I honestly will be dropping the link in here. Like when we're done with the show, I'll be putting the link in there so people can go check it out. Yeah, I saw that you had Father Jun, and I was like, ooh. Because the ending of season 2 of Warrior, I was like, what's going to happen?
Yes.
So when I saw that, I was like, oh, Warrior? I was like, ooh. Okay, very, very exciting, very exciting. And I love that because I know from going to your table at New York Comic Con for Burning Spear Comix, which I missed not having New York Comic Con, because going to your table is one of the best parts. Like I've visited your table the last 2 years. The 2 years before this, and it has this beautiful feel to it, and I love that. It is very home. Like it is very family. It's home. Especially the year before, it was you, it was John, TJ was there, and I
Yeah.
believe Yaya
Yeah, Daji.
was there, and I was like, "Oh, this!" And even the picture that we took was like a holiday family picture of like brothers and sisters. Just everybody just had to get a picture like any way that they could. But it is that family feeling for it, and I love that. And the fact that you're doing a podcast is no surprise to me because you have that energy. I hope I'm using the word properly. You have the mana.
Yep.
I love that word. The Rock turned me onto that word because he kept saying it for a long time on his IG, and I was like, what? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh my god, that's why that word feels so good.
Yes.
You definitely have that. And the podcast, we do need more voices, and Indigenous voices especially, because we don't get the representation, the inclusion for that. So I'm very happy that you have this going, and it's beautiful. And the Kickstarter, like I said, I'm going to be dropping a link in that. I'm already on that. I'm going to be in there, obviously. I mean, look, I ended up putting the Kickstarter app on my phone. That's how much I'm in Kickstarter's like,
God.
Look, I don't know what are y'all
set up therapy sessions for you now.
Bruh. And I'm not tech savvy at all, but I was like, let me find, all right, bet. So I can keep track of everything because there's so many Kickstarters I feel like now. But this is the most different, most different. What the hell type of English is that? This is the most original Kickstarter that I've seen because I haven't seen one for a podcast, and that's one of the things that interested me. But also the fact that Moana was a part of it, obviously. You know what I mean? And I know what you bring to the table.
Thank you. Yeah. I actually was questioning whether or not a podcast could be successful on Kickstarter because I'm a big fan of supporting the indie community on Kickstarter, and it's primarily been comic books, right? There's a couple tech ones that I like, and I'll support those too. But I was like, I don't know if a podcast will be successful. I was hoping that it would be, but the good thing is that once you realize that Kickstarter is simply a platform and you bring your audience to it, it really doesn't matter what kind of project it is. It's just making sure that your community is ready for it and they want to see this, come to life. So, I had some friends help me with coming up with some ideas, and it's constantly evolving as it should be, right? Like listening to the fans and seeing what they want to see and trying to bring it, where you can. So yeah, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've been thinking about doing a podcast for I don't know, probably 2 or 3 years now, but it's just never felt right. I know I wanted to do it, but I didn't know what I wanted the content to focus on. Because I didn't want it to be about me. I mean, there is going to be me in it naturally. My mana and my presence will be in it, but I wanted it to be about community because that's something that's important to me.
Yeah, when Michael and I were thinking about when we were at the end of our previous show, Stranger Membrane, and then we started coming up with this, we were like, so what is it going to do? We want it to be an extension. We wanted it to still be geek centric, obviously.
Yeah.
But we wanted to expand. And Michael has this incredible mind. And I don't think people realize this as much. Michael is incredibly smart. He's incredibly creative. His mind is out there. If I had a film studio, I'd go, Michael, look, here's the keys, man. Do what you want. I totally trust you. I totally trust you. Just make sure that you turn the lights off when you leave, man. Because I don't want the power bill to be up too high, bro.
Really.
But he has that feel. So yeah, they're trying to figure out what you want to do because you have the passion and you want to, but then you go, what am I going to talk about? So, but you ended up finding the best thing to talk about and something that comes from your heart and your passion, which is where it'll once that is there, it's there. And yeah, Kickstarter, I don't think I've seen a podcast on it. You might be the first podcast I've seen on it. I know I've seen comics, and I think I've seen some fashion things. I've seen a couple of things for maybe some indie movies, little small indie movies, such what have you. But
yeah,
I don't think I've seen a podcast. So that's cool in and of itself. What has been, as far as the podcast that you've done so far, what has been, aside from Father June, because that obviously steals the cake as my favorite, honestly.
Absolutely.
What has been your favorite episode so far that you've done?
Oh man,
I know it's hard, right? It's hard.
That's so hard because Oh, every episode is fun, and it usually tends to be even better than I even anticipated, regardless of who we've had on the podcast. I'm learning from everybody, you know. Um, but I guess if I had to choose a second outside of Father June, I would have to say Sis Afua Richardson. Like I've been a big fan of her work for a long time, but I'm super excited about what she's doing now because it's her own IP, right? Like
Hmm.
she's telling stories about mermaids of different cultures around the world. So, and you know, it's all having to do with the water and the oceans and the stories that people tell, you know, based on their different locations. And I was like, oh man, this is like, I love Sis already, but even more so now that she's like, you know, she's telling stories about mermaids like Mami Wata in Africa, you know, like bringing those indigenous concepts and, you know, topics that are not often talked about. I mean, the ocean is so vast and, you know,
Hmm.
sometimes I wonder, like, are mermaids real? Like, maybe not as, you know, fantasized as we make it, but like, there's so many uncharted, you know, things under the ocean that we don't even know what's up under there. So I find that intriguing, and she's talented. Her spirit is just, I don't know, man. That's my sis. Like we on the same, you know, kind of wavelength, and
Hmm.
being able to talk to her and you know more about her journey. I mean, she's a musician too. You know, she can
Yeah.
sing. Um, and she's you know she's holding her space in a lot of male dominated spaces, right? So I just she just dropped so many nuggets in that episode. So if you haven't seen that one yet, that's actually part of season 2. So she'll be a part of the Kickstarter. um and yeah, I mean, I can't wait to meet her, you know, see her again in person and give her a big old hug, because I know she's been working real hard between her commissions work and you know, getting her book ready for release in May with Image Comics. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'd have to say that one was my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and also for her to be a part of like one of our favorite shows, Lovecraft
Yes.
Country,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
which was like when it was one thing to see her art, you're like, oh, that's cool. But then for
Uh-huh.
her to say, well, I learned from an artist named Afua, I was like, I know
Yes.
y'all didn't just, I know
Name
you,
dropping.
you a damn lie. I know you didn't just pop up and say, and I was like, it's such a big name drop
Yeah.
and such
Yeah.
a fourth wall kind of breaking meta feel to it was so
Hmm.
great. And she's one of the most just incredible, talented people. I've had the pleasure of meeting her like twice at at New York Comic Con,
Hmm.
and just the last time I saw her, I think she was like an X-Men, and she had like the lights in her hair,
Yeah.
and I was like, how did you even? I was like, oh, you're just so dope. All right, cool. Like, can you find this comic? Like, because there's nothing I can say. Like, whatever. First off, and Michael will tell you this firsthand. I'll geek out. Like, you could show me like celebrities from movies. I'm like, yeah, yeah, all right, whatever.
You're right.
But when I see somebody who's a comic book artist or writer that I know, and I'm like, I don't. Just like, what do I say? Hi. Start with hi, and then go from there. Like you can talk about also, but you can't. I don't. But I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to like. I don't want to look dumb.
Right.
And it's just so. But yeah, she's just one of the most creative people. And yeah, for her to have a Kickstarter, I was like, ooh, jumped on it. Had to again the app.
Absolutely.
Yeah, show it to me. Whatever. Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. Whatever. How much do you need? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Whatever. Yeah. All right. When's it coming in a few months? Yeah. All right. Cool. Whatever. Yeah. Cool,
Right.
whatever. Whatever. You also have your hands, like I said, in fashion. You when everything started with the pandemic, you were actually making masks.
Yeah.
Before that, you were already in fashion, doing like I said. You say I'm doing too much. You out here doing everything. Like I'm afraid that if I go for like another job and I'm like, hey, can I get an application? No, we already hired somebody named Moana. Man, that doesn't make no sense, yo. How she don't even live in Jersey? How is that even possible, bro? Are you serious? Oh, I mean, but I'm not mad because she's cool. So I guess all right. I mean, I'll just understand. Yeah, all right, cool, whatever. What got you into fashion? Like what got you into? Because it's not something that everybody's getting into or such what have you. But and I've
Yeah.
seen your clothes and they're beautiful. They are just. I've seen the dresses that you make and everything because I've like checked out sites everything like that that you had, and I was like, this is really cool. This is like beautiful, and I know nothing about fashion. Obviously, I wear mostly black. That's
me too.
What got you into fashion? Like, what was it that made you go, yeah, you know what, there's something that I'm going to do?
So, I never thought I would be in fashion. I really just started making. Okay, so let me step back a little bit. So I moved away from Hawaii, and one of the things is that you can't just get Hawaiian infused fashion just anywhere. Like, unless really, because back when I moved here, like the internet wasn't as prevalent in terms of like small businesses and people having access to anything outside of physical, brick and mortar spaces. So, I just was like, well, I don't want to wait until I go home, for my vacation, to go see my family. Like, I need clothes that like I can express myself and who I am and my culture, and it's all part of my identity. So I just started like, I saw some particular fashions that other people were making that like I was continuously buying and spending way too much money. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just start, let me see if I can duplicate, or make something with my own little spin on it, like something similar but spin it.
Right.
But like at the time I didn't know how to sew nothing, like, and I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this? My mom was a seamstress, like she would make our hula outfits when we were little, and dancing, and there's costumes for everything. So like that was always something that was present in my house, but I had never physically done it myself. But I was like, well, I guess the best place to learn it is just to do it. So I got me a sewing machine. I think I took like one class, which is more focused on hand stitching. But then I just jumped on YouTube and like, watched some videos, and I was like, well, let's just try. Everything I was researching was like, people can't really teach you this. It's just something you learn by doing. Yeah. And so I just started making things for myself, simple, like I don't even consider myself a fashion guru or whatever. I just make things I like.
No. That's the title, and I'm sticking with fashion mogul.
All right, fashion mogul. All right, P. Diddy. But yeah, so I just started making for myself, and then, the more people were asking me, like, "Oh, where'd you get that? Can I get one? Like, where can I go buy that?" And I was like, "Well, I made it, And they were like, "Really? Can I get one?" So it started, little by little, and more people kept asking. And I was like, well, maybe I guess I'll turn this into a business. But like when you're starting anything, it's like, oh, I don't know yet, right? Like the confidence is not quite there. You're like, this could be possible, but maybe, and you really don't know until you try. But yeah, it became a business. Was actually the staple and the cash cow of our business for a while. The pandemic kind of set us back because we can't do in person, which is where predominantly like I would focus on events that are like have an island theme or are tied to the culture. So it's taken a little bit of a step back, but as you mentioned, like during the pandemic, I already have all this fabric. Like my room, I have a whole room with like tons of fabric, way more than I need. But I was like, how can I use my time? Because I'm not, as you know, because I do a lot, I'm not a person who just sits on her butt and does nothing. So, I wasn't working. I was still getting paid, fortunately, but I was at home. And I was like, well, how can I help people? Because I'm one of the fortunate who is not affected financially by what is going on right now. So how can I give back and help some people who might be struggling? So that's where I came up with the idea, like, hey, let's just use some of this fabric. Let's make masks, because clearly everybody needs masks right now. And it's not something we were carrying around on a regular basis before all this went down. Right. So I was like, okay, well, I'm in the nerddom space. I got a ton of like superhero fabrics here. Let me start with those, like incorporate some Hawaiian stuff, which is like part of me. And so I just started making them, and people were like, oh, that's cool. Can I get one? And then I decided to take it like a step further. Like, why don't I do some matching program, right? So if somebody buys a mask from me, I'll donate it to an organization or family, somebody who's in need. So that's what we did in the first couple of months of the pandemic. And I believe we donated about 700 something, all handmade. all
Nice.
handmade. And there was one effort that I was a part of. Let's see, they were specifically focused on Native American, what do you call that, reservations, right? Who didn't have medical access or access to these supplies. And this one lady was coordinating and on behalf of the Sioux Nation. So there was like a working group of women. They had organized in a Facebook group, and we just we combined resources, and everybody would just she had like the listing of all the places that needed it, and she'd post it in the group, and we would just knock them all out. So yeah, I love doing that stuff, and the pictures and notes that I would get back, it's just like that's where the real love is for me, where people are showing so much gratitude for something that is a small gesture, but to people who don't have anything, it means so much. Yeah.
That's awesome, because I remember when it first started happening, like, and I'd made a comment, I think, on Facebook about like masks, about like how my job had started providing masks for us, and you hit me up and you're like, but do y'all need masks? And I was like, oh no, the company like is already doing it, whatever. But that meant a lot to me, because I was like, because you came out of nowhere. It was like you came grappling hook, cape, mask, like this. You would just beat up the Joker, and you came swinging in, and you was like, "Do you need masks, citizen?" I was like, "I'm all right. I mean, but thank you. I don't. That's wonderful of you. Thank you." So to hear that you like donated like 700 masks is beautiful, and to see that you were going with reservations and having that type of like bond and connection and providing that is beautiful. I mean, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big part of who I am, and you'll see it in just about anything that I touch, like that helping hand kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of our episodes, I talked with my friend Davy Celeste, and we were talking about philanthropy, right? And how I think it was one of grandmother or her mother who had told her that you don't have to have a lot of money to be a philanthropist. Like there
Yeah.
are a lot of things that you can do that doesn't require a lot of money. It just requires a lot of heart. So that really resonated with me in that episode, because I was like, that's so true. Like I do that all the time, and it's something that was taught to me by my parents and my grandparents. It's the culture that we were raised in. So that's it's kind of wired in me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it shows in an effort to still be there, and to still be, from you doing it, passing it on, especially in this COVID time, this very just secluded, and everybody's in a little bubble, sometimes figuratively, and what have you. But to still let that come out and still be able to reach out, whether it's through sending some a mask to someone, or even through like the internet that we have now, it still comes out, which is awesome. Um, Now, there was a movie that I saw on Netflix that it popped up. Hadn't watched it until I saw you pop up and say, "This movie is hitting." This movie, and I want to ask my partner Michael, have you watched the Finding Ohana?
Yeah.
I did not. I did not get a chance
Not.
to. It's in my queue. Like my queue is like, and Antonio will tell you, like, I have to come up with like a Netflix will to leave to people once I go to just kind of continue with all the selections that I have in there. So it
I
is
volunteer
on,
as tribute.
yeah,
I volunteer as tribute.
it is definitely on my radar to watch though, for sure.
Well, it's like I was saying, like it has a really strong tie to the Goonies, but
Yeah.
it has two people that I hadn't heard of, I haven't heard or seen in a while, and I was so happy and pleased to see them pop up. One of them is Kelly Hu.
Kelly, ooh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, huge. She's been acting for for like
A long time.
a long time, and
She's
hasn't
aging gracefully.
she hasn't aged. Like
Yes,
that's the biggest thing.
yeah.
I'm looking at her like that's not the same. That's the same word
Yeah.
from martial law with Sammo Hung. Word? That's the same word?
Mhm.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Bet I'm gonna find out what you're doing.
Right.
And then what's guys
Friends.
Branson Richcombe, yes. Who I haven't. I mean, during the '80s, if you watched anything like 18, if you watch anything from Stephen J. Cannell,
Yeah.
You saw him. If you saw Action Jackson, you saw him. Why are you looking for Papa Doc? Like that scene hits me every time. And to see him, and I hadn't seen him since, I think, well, personally, I hadn't seen him since
Renegade.
Yes, yeah, Renegade, yeah. Bobby Six Killer.
Yes, with Lorenzo Lamas. Oh my God.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it since then. I'm saying that that's
Oh my God.
Matter of fact, that's on Amazon. I'm gonna have to hit that up to just for the whole time's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Look, I was dead into that show for some reason. It was just a ridiculous show, but it was like the UPN at the time. Like you watched those shows, like that was it. And when I saw him there, and I was like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen him in so long." Oh, I was so happy because he's actor. He's a stuntman also. I want to say. And I mean, he's always had this this flowing mane of just beautifulness. This luxurious. Obviously, I'm a little jealous. I mean, his luxurious. I'm saying, but it was just so cool, and to see that it was focused on this family that the mother was relocating back to Hawaii and taking, and I don't believe her children had been there, had they? I don't think they had been, or they had visited. Like sometimes?
I think they left when what's her name? Why am I I'm blanking on her name. The main character, the girl.
Damn.
I know her real name. Her real name is Kea, but the character.
The character's name, yeah.
Starts with a P. But yeah, so I think they left when she was just a baby or a couple of years old, and then they moved to New York. Yeah.
But it had this really great vibe because it was focused there, and first off, the scenery obviously is beautiful because it's Hawaii, so obviously, and then you're seeing that representation again of people that you don't see. You only see people in Hawaii when someone would go on vacation in movies or Hawaii 5-0. I'm trying to think of anything else. That's actually it. I mean, when the Jeffersons went on vacation and they found that accursed statue. I don't know why I remember that, but that was like a two-parter, so I don't know what happened to that one. Wow. Sherman Hemsley in a swimsuit. I mean, who thought that was going to be a ratings grab, huh? That's awesome. All right. But we watched. But seeing that and how it tied into not just the island and the people and how they were talking about, and Ohana means family, correct? Thank you. So the title even being Finding Family and the way it reconnects, and it has some really funny parts with the flashbacks. I'm not going to spoil anything for Michael, but it's the flashbacks of the pirates. And I didn't realize that it was Chris Parnell from Saturday Night Live.
I didn't know that either.
Who is hilarious. That dude is so funny. And I've always loved him on Archer. He just has this really kind of corny way of being, but he's hilarious. He's funny. And then the direct then the ties to the Goonies and the treasure hunting part of it.
It's so funny that we're talking about this because Branscombe just hit me in my messenger. I've been trying to get him on the podcast. He's like, let's do this, even from set.
So if y'all if you were on the fence about the Kickstarter, you need to hit the Kickstarter.
Precisely.
Absolutely. That message right there, that one right there, I'm trying to get my finger right. That one right there, all right, cool. You already had your Moana. You didn't have to butter me up anymore. You already had
it just popped up on the notification. I was like,
He must have known that I'm trying to.
That's right. And he felt, us speaking his name and conjuring his energy. Yes.
Anytime you say Bobby Six Killer, like he gets a notification in his ears, like,
yeah, exactly.
Somebody's calling. Residuals? What's that? Yeah, I'm in.
That's right.
But it's I want to say I hope I say pronounce his name right. Jonathan Key Kwan.
Oh yeah.
I think who was in the Goonies and in the original Goonies, and this is kind of like a spiritual successor in essence.
Yeah.
It just had that beautiful feel and vibe, and you know what? Tomorrow, Sunday morning breakfast, I think I'm gonna end up just watching that again because it was just a fun movie and it just felt nice. And again, the scenery was beautiful. you know, everything. And I want to support things like that because we, again, don't get to see a lot of representation for Indigenous. Unfortunately, there was, I don't know if you watched the show, but it was really great. But unfortunately, because of behind the scenes things, it ended up going away. Trickster.
I don't know about that. I've never heard about that one, so I have to check it out.
It was a Canadian show that they was out last year. Then they brought it to CW. Okay. And they showed the 6 episodes, but because of, I'm not going to go into it because it's a very negative thing, but because of some behind the scenes shenanigans, let's say, for lack of a better term, yes. The show was canceled. But it was very beautiful. Indigenous First Nations mythology about the trickster gods and such like that. And it had like, it was a very, it wasn't exactly CW because they had to bleep out some of the stuff because of the language. I guess they have different like rules and regulations as far as like Canada and how they do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, with the language, I wouldn't think of that because I just wouldn't have thought of that.
Come on, this is America. We're too
I wouldn't have. I know. Well,
we're too uptight about certain things.
I know.
A lot of things. No, I don't want any weed right now. Thank you. So, no, you're too kind, really. So I will take an 8-ball though. Thanks.
You're a mess.
I'm not doing drugs. But yeah, that was just a really fun show and such like that. But just to have anything like that, anything that shows different than what we're getting on a regular basis of just cisgendered and white and that homogenized thing.
Yeah.
Michael has turned me on to a lot of movies that I didn't really know about because his encyclopedia, like his Encyclopedia Britannica, like mine for movies, like, brother, have you seen this movie? I'm like, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that existed. And he'll just drop these movies. I'm like, I got to pick all this up, man. I don't need, like, where am I going to watch these movies at?
Right.
He's the reason why I have so many streaming services because I want to be prepared. Like, I'm always on the ready. Like, I'm like,
which one? Where is it at?
And he has a whiteboard and like this big. Have you seen this? I'm like, no, I haven't seen. Wait, what's that? I love it. When Michael drops a movie, I'm like, okay, yeah, I definitely got to check that out. And I watch it, and I'm like, I didn't know. And he'll completely split my wig and then help me to collect my edges off the floor. my bald-headed ass edges, and then split it together.
Yeah, he got that way when I recommended Moonlight to him.
Oh my gosh!
Because he had not seen Moonlight.
No,
shut up,
brother! You need to see Moonlight.
Moonlight is awesome.
And that was I think that was when I actually got Amazon Prime. Like I think the first or third time because I've gone in and out of Amazon Prime and I was watching it, and he turned me on to Barry Jenkins, and then he said, "Well, brother, have you thought about have you watched Beale Street?" I'm like, "What?" And he does it in such a nonchalant, like, I mean, Beale Street, I don't know if you've heard of this movie. I'm just saying. And I'm like, I don't, what? And I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, I need to talk to someone. I need to hold someone. Yeah. I need to hold someone dear and tenderly and make sure that they never leave me again. How do you do this, Michael?
Oh my God.
But which is something that I definitely miss about seeing Michael in person. Like, because we would sit down and we would eat and we would talk and we'd have a couple of beers and we would, talk about these things. I honestly believe, hopefully, again, crossing fingers and toes and whatever other appendage you have that you can twist, it's none of my business because we all got our things. I truly want to, New York Comic-Con, if possible next year, if you are there, Moana, we have to sit down. We have to break bread and meat or whatever it is that you digest and get down with it and talk about like just things in general, because you have this beautiful feel, vibe, just everything, whether it's dealing with the Burning Spears comics or it's Burning Spear. I keep making it plural and I'm mad at myself for that. And I don't know why. I think it's because I want more. So I need more of them.
You're not the only one. Other people pluralize it too, and I'm like, it's okay, whatever, it's all good.
Well, the first time I typed in your email, and I was like, and it said not going through, and I was like, why isn't it going through? Why isn't it? And I was like, I mean, it's Spears. It's not. It's not Spears. It's not. Uh, Mind you, there's nobody here for me to look around to actually confirm
pretty
that.
much.
Obviously. But I was like, okay, cool. From that, and you have a children's book out.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell us about that? Because I'm also going to drop that in the link as well.
Yeah, so the children's book is another one that's centered on family, and it's absolutely centered on Hawaiian culture. It's a bilingual book, so it's in both English and Hawaiian. There's a lot of people who don't even realize that Hawaiians have their own language, because we, I believe it's my grandmother's, generation, like they were prevented from speaking it in public, in schools, like you'd be punished for it. So it kind of permeated down into, the other generations, like my mom's generation, where they never spoke, the native language, because of those things. And so I think it was like in the late 70s, early 80s, where there was like a new resurgence of the language. And now with technology, it's becoming even more easier to, revive it. And so I wanted to make sure that especially because it's specifically targeted for children, I want them to be proud to speak their language, because that is part of who you are. That's how you express yourself, right? And also, like, I kickstarted that one too. So I wanted to create like a resource, right? Like this is how I'm viewing this, as a resource for children to use with it, whether it's within the school system or within the homes of families, whether you be in Hawaii or not, right? How can we introduce the culture, introduce the language, and do it in a way that celebrates it and centers it on like the real lives of people who grew up in the islands. Because as we talked about earlier, like so much of what people see in Hawaii is just the surface, which is a beautiful surface, right? It's a paradise, a great place to live. But a lot of people don't understand like what it's like to be the natives of that land, and like the real life struggles that people can sometimes go through, at the cost of the tourism that plagues our state. So the story is in and of itself, it's a fishing story between a grandpa and his two grandchildren, or mo'opuna is what we call them. They're on the beach, and the location and the setting that I chose is actually one of my father's favorite fishing spots. He was a fisherman. And the story is inspired by one of the favorite memories that my niece and nephew had with my dad. So it's a tribute to him, to capture like his legacy, while also providing a memoir for the kids, because he passed away. And so they were so young, like 6 and 4, I think. So the memories, the older one would probably remember it a little bit, but the younger one maybe not so much. But I really wanted them to, understand who their papa is. Like, we can tell them, right? But when they're feeling sad, or just, missing their papa, I want them to have something that they could just open up and be like, oh, look, there's papa, and we're playing, and it's great. And the story also incorporates, I won't spoil the story too much, but there is a homeless family that's within the story that they meet. And the reason why I put that in there is because homelessness is a consequence of tourism and of, colonizing systems. And, you see a lot of homeless people in the streets, and I really wanted to incorporate it into the story to bring that awareness, but doing it in a way that is, again, back to the community, right? We don't view these people as negative blights on our society. This is just the side effect of what happens, and it's part of our kuleana, or our responsibility, to help them when we can, because these are just people who are down and out for whatever might happen in their life. Yes, they might have some responsibility for some of it, but a lot of it, is a resultant of, whatever the variants are in the environment. So, it's like, what can you do on a daily basis, whether it be just helping someone with a small act, right? Again, back to the mass and, all those themes. Again, like I said, you find it in every, the things that I do. But yeah, it's a way also for the children who are from my island, right? Because it takes place on my island where I'm from, and I want them to feel pride, like, oh, this is a story that, like, this beach that I go to all the time, I have taken it for granted, right? Because I know when I moved in Hawaii, I did not realize how much I took for granted of my home until I was away for it from a long time. So now I kind of look at it with a different lens, and I just want to encourage people to be grateful for, even though we might be struggling in that particular context, it's still a blessing to be a part of that land, and to just be appreciative and honoring the environment, the people, and incorporating like some of the Polynesian values that we hold dear into the story. So if you haven't checked it out yet, I definitely recommend it. If you order it, we will sign it for you and put some extra little print in there for you. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. With the Kickstarter, we were able to donate. How many books did we donate? Like 250, I think, books to different schools in Hawaii. Just here you go, like, enjoy the books, and I always love the emails coming back like, oh, thank you so much, can we send you a thank you letter? And a couple of schools have invited me back, whenever I'm home, like, if you're ever here, we would love to have you come for a school visit and a reading. And so I'm so excited whenever the time comes, right, that I can travel safely again. Like, being with the kids to me is everything. That's that those are our future, and those are the minds that we need to be shaping in a positive and productive way.
Well, that's definitely part of it, and that is Fishing Day with Papa Ray.
Yep.
I want to say, isn't it? Yeah. You can definitely go on to like I said, I'll be dropping links in here so you can go and check out everything. That there are going to be a lot of links because she's got a lot of stuff going on. So everything that's in there. And I love the fact that, again, the philanthropy, the donating, when you say, oh, I've done this, oh, but I was able to donate this. I love that. It's a beautiful cycle with you when you're able to get something and then you give as much, if not double back. That's beautiful to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's important to me, but I can't take all the credit because it's done on Kickstarter. It's also being done on behalf of the backers, right? That's a key thing that I want people to understand. Like, if we want to see more Black, people of color, characters, stories, all those things, us as the consumers have the power to make that happen. Perhaps maybe stop putting your money to some other bigger brands and celebrate and and nurture and build up the indie creators and that are creating right here in your own community, because that's the way that we get it out to a broader audience. So yeah, I always have to shout out my Kickstarter backers because I can do it, but it's so much easier and it gets done a hell of a lot quicker when people unite and do things together.
Exactly. And there's an app you can put on your phone and your tablet too, folks.
I didn't know about it, so I'm gonna download it after this.
It does make it a lot easier, and it actually will like give you alerts like, oh, you know what, because from what I've found, like one of the biggest things that people forget is the survey and filling it out. And sometimes it'll go to your email, sometimes it'll be on Kickstarter. Like, it depends on how the person or persons are actually doing it. Or even the rewards sometimes, like it can go to your email. So having the app on your phone, again, it seems silly and I'm making a joke of it, but it actually is like helpful. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands. But it does make it easier because sometimes the link to whatever you got will be on the Kickstarter, like in your message, or it will be in your email. Either way, it helps you and you're able to guide, and you'll see it's really cool to see that you were part of someone's dream. They have a dream of creating a movie, a comic, a podcast, what have you, and you're able to donate whatever you can and put it. And there's so many different tiers and rewards. There's a lot going on. So if you only have, like, I only got $5 to do this month, there's a tier that's going to be $5. Bet money there is going to be a tier. If you got, I got my stimmy last week. Guess what, bro? I got a tier for you too, man. You know what I mean? Like. But I ain't gonna tell nobody when I get my stimmy. I'm gonna keep that. Because I don't want to see nobody in a mask come up on me and run it. I'm like, oh.
Right.
Today, you sure? Yes, but that's a beautiful thing. I do have a correction, actually. One of the comments that came up from Carlo Smith Ramsey, it was a Brady Bunch had the tiki.
Yes.
But I believe the Jeffersons, it was diamonds or something that was stolen, and they like somebody was trying to. So thank you very much. I was totally confused on that. Well, you know why? Because I blended the two together. I think because it's just at that time, and I'm old. I'm 43. I can't remember everything, y'all. Come on. Seriously. I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why this is shaved. I'm saying, be real. So thank you very much. To be perfectly honest, that is my cousin.
Hey, Carlo. Thanks.
You know, that's it. Yeah. My God. Michael, do you have anything to add to this?
I do.
This sherbet of a show. I
do, brother.
What have you got?
Wild Card Chronicles.
Yeah.
You know, like Antonio mentioned, right? Like, I'm a very movie, TV, visual type guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I read something like Wild Card Chronicles, and this is the beauty of kind of being in a subjective type medium, right? Like, people will pick things out in something like that they kind of see, maybe only themselves kind of see, right? So when I read something like Wild Card Chronicles, I see a lot of like genre things involved in it, like things that I've seen but kind of rearranged in a much better way, for lack of a better term. So can you tell us the inspiration for something like Wild Card Chronicles, and do you yourself as the creator take things from genres that you may be a fan of, or things from genres that you've seen, and do you try to rearrange them like puzzle pieces to make those things that people have already seen better?
It's so funny that you say that, because you know, I'm not the main creator on the Wild Card Chronicles. It's my husband, so he's very much like you. So everything that you just said, I'm glad that you're picking up on it, because that's essentially what he is trying to do. Like, he is like very much like you, right? Have all the shows, right? It's mapped out. And you know, when we first met, I was like, man, this guy watches a whole lot of TV. Like, what's up with this, right? But like, his brain is, I'm imagining it's very much like yours, right? It's a sponge, and he has a visual, like, what do you call that? Photographic memory. So, like, he pulls from different shows and he's analyzing. He's like, okay, I like that. They didn't do this part great. So when I write mine, it has to, you know, like, I have to improve upon it. But yeah, absolutely. Like, he pulls from like a whole lot of genres, a whole lot of, you know, like stories and shows that he liked. And incorporates themes and perspectives into the Wild Card Chronicles. But like, what inspired it was like, the Wild Card Chronicles for us is like finding the hero within. You know, in order for people to like recognize and see the hero within themselves, we have to see this visually, right? Like, this is why representation is so important, because if it doesn't exist somewhere, there's not something to inspire you to see that you can be that too, right? So, you know, we wanted to go with that find the hero within theme, but also specifically uplift the Black family, particularly the Black father, because it's Black men are downtrodden so much in media. And so for our story, this is like us celebrating the Black man, but not just the Black men though. Like, the story centers around a father and his two sons. But there are powerful families within this story. I kind of like my quick pitch that I've, you know, kind of evolved to is Game of Thrones meets Black Panther meets Biker Boys. In the Matrix. Like,
those were all the things that I was thinking when I read it. especially biker boys. The biker boys thing is like, it's very prevalent in it, and I'm not sure that many people would pick it up.
Yes, and that is because like we are actually part of a motorcycle family. So like we actually ride, and if you're gonna tell a story that like a lot of movies will incorporate bikes, like oh yeah, it's cool, fast chase scene, let's do this, it's dope, right? But like as a rider, you look at some of that stuff like, yeah, that would never happen. They would have spilled right there. You know. So it's like trying to incorporate not just the biker, you know, the skills of a biker, but also like what's going on the set and, you know, the kind of turf wars that happen very much like Warrior, right? You got the tongs. And you'll probably see some of that too, because we got the House of Sutek, which is one of the houses that we haven't even mentioned yet. But yeah, no, it's gonna be so dope, man.
You can just see me like, yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the first house you see is the house of Ma'atra, and that's where our protagonist family comes from. It's an African family, obviously, but the setting for the Wildcard Chronicles takes place in Tekken City, which is a sovereign African city, but it's on U.S. soil.
Yes.
So, you know, it's like, what would that really look like? You know, like this story is coming upon the, you know, the end of the world, the Third World War, World War III, where Africa wins the war, right? So, like, while the, you know, the world powers are typically, you know, it's usually the same ones, right? Like U.S., Russia, China, all those people worrying about each other, but people sleep on Africa when Africa is the source of the resources for everything, right? So imagine if Africa closed its borders and said, nope, y'all can't come up in here. You're going to stop exploiting us. The rest of the world will fall apart into a third world country, even though we like to prop Africa up as a third world continent, right? So I love this story. I can't wait because we're working on the script for 3 and 4 right now. It's taking us a little while because of like learning about how to kind of like systemize like creating of the comic. Like that's something I totally underestimated until we, you know, started creating our own. I was like, oh, it's just some pages, right? Like a magazine people draw and we just publish it. No. Right? It's so much love that goes into comics, especially if you're an indie creator and don't have those big funding sources, right? And then when you're building a team to create a comic, right? It's not just one person. You got like at least 5 people on the team in some form or fashion, and everybody's working on different things. So scheduling becomes, you know, a little bit of a challenge. So, you know, it's taking some time to kind of get those. We're still, you know, we're always going to be learning. Nothing's going to be perfect, but it's little variables that come out of nowhere. You're like, oh man, so-and-so's down now. And so do we go find somebody else? But then it already has a style, you know, so it's a lot of different challenges, but you know, we keep trucking, we keep doing what we do. And we're just glad for the people who are, you know, loving the things and are patient enough to wait for the greatness that is coming. Cause I mean, the Wildcard Chronicles I think it's going to be 3 arcs. So like 12 issues of the Chronicles. But then we have like all these spin-offs that are going to be, you know, happening, right? Nice. We got the Ghost Razors, we got Blasian Dawn, we got so many things, like, and things that he hasn't even told me yet, right? Like he doesn't even tell me everything. So like,
right.
But every time he tells me something, I'm listening. I'm like, what is it? Yes, when, you know. So like as an editor, I get to just be like, I'm happy that I get to see a lot of things before everybody else does. But it's a labor of love, but we're all about that.
Oh, you just made my heart like skip 1,000 beats.
We thank you for that labor of love because it's amazing.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Yeah, how Mike is with series and movies and stuff like that. That's how I hit him with comics. I'm like, like, and it's a wonderful. So we can kind of learn from each, because I've learned a lot from Michael and how I view things, and how I look at the whole production of movies and the series and such like that. And it's influenced how I've done things with our show and with my solo thing, like things that I'm like, okay, this is what I have to do, this because of what I've seen and only slightly seen through Michael's eyes, because I can kind of see through Michael's eyes, but I don't have his intellect behind it
Right.
to truly look at all the little pieces that go together. But I've learned a great deal from watching that from him and listening to how he speaks about it. And when he starts on his, I know when Michael's about to really go into it, because he's like, you know what, brother, and he gets, and he's like, you know what, brother, and he fixes his brim. He's like, yeah, and you know, brother, let me tell you, let me. And I'm like, and that's when I know that I'm under the learning tree, because I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah,
Yes,
all right.
yes. But that's
And
what makes
like,
this
oh,
so great, because
yeah,
you bring something, he brings something. The collaboration makes it so much better.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
I mean, you have to. So yeah, well, Wildcard Chronicles is one of those times I was so happy to go to your booth, and I remember running there after watching the early premiere of viewing of a Deadly Class. And I
Mm.
remember, and I'm not joking, literally running from Hammerstein Ballroom down there, and it was not the day for me to be running. And I don't know if you ever tried to run in Chucks, but your
Yes.
feet are not your friend afterwards. They are not your friend.
Yes, listeners.
I don't know how they was playing ball back in the day in Chuck. I give them credit. And running down there and talking to you about it, like that first issue, and being a part of the email sheet, and when I bought the digital, and so I was like, I was like, oh my gosh, and I was like, this is to have an MC and to have like Michael was saying, all the different genres you mash together, but in this wonderful way where everything coincides. I was like, damn, I wish I hadn't read this. Now I want more. Shit, all right, cool. All right. Let me go find the Kickstarter. Let me go find. All right, you got me. But it's just wonderful, and we're looking forward to everything that will be coming from the incredible empire, the foundation that you all are bringing together. More importantly, the family.
Yeah.
That is coming from this. You have any last words for us, Moana? Any nuggets of wisdom or what have you? Drop it for us.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. This has been great. I love being on the other side of the camera too, because I just get to kind of reflect on the things that I'm doing and, find a way to message that appropriately to people so that they can understand and relate to it. So yeah, this has been amazing. And then I guess my last words would be to whoever is watching, whatever creative, juices that you have or passion that you want to do, believe in it, believe in yourself and take that jump. Don't let those self thoughts in your head, take you down. Find people who are, on the same wavelength or have similar interests and build with them, look for people that can be a support system to you. Cause they'll relate to you on your journey and we'll be able, you'll be able to help each other, pick each other up, when maybe the juices are not flowing so well, right? I get that all the time, and it's so important to have people that be like, you know what, just take a break. It sounds like you need a break. Take a break, and then come back at it, when you're fresh again. And I was like, that's good advice. But it's so important. Again, the community. It's I love the indie community. These are my peeps. We know the struggle. They have so many creative ideas that maybe they couldn't carry out themselves, but with the right connections and the right relationships, it's I think we could do that. Let's go. And it's always better when it's not just you and you have a partner. That's how my dad was. He was always like, I need a partner. Who's going to be my partner? It helps with your enthusiasm and your energy, So I love the partnership that you guys all have here with the Fandom Initiative. And it's a pleasure for us to be a part of what you guys are building.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, you're right. It is about community and nurturing and just, being there for everyone. And I'm hoping that's actually one of the things I actually kind of want to flesh out this week, to have a bit more of a connection with everyone, because there are so many of us out there that might be doing podcasts or some type of content creating, stuff like that don't know of each other. Or that know of each other kind of in passing. And it's that, when you're scrolling, you might see the logo and you just keep going down because you don't know what it's about. I kind of want to see what I could do, because there are a lot of us and we all kind of have some similar likes and things and just being apart and just nurturing each other. And that's the biggest thing. And it's become more and more prevalent, especially during the COVID times, that it's been happening more, where people are being more supportive and people are being more just like, you know what? Because I mean, you see people taking the leap, like you're saying, and doing it. And I think it's beautiful and I love it, you know. Michael, do you have any last words, brother?
Be good to each other. Continue to be good to each other.
Yeah.
Remember, COVID is still out there. Even if we're getting closer to possibly getting past it. That's it. That's pretty much it.
That's it. Yeah, COVID is out there, and if you need masks, I mean,
hit up Moana.
We have Moana Nui mask. We have branded masks for our podcast. That's going to be on the campaign too. So, you know, I'm just saying.
Nice.
This ain't my first rodeo, folks. I love doing something like that. This is not my first rodeo. I love a good segue, even if it's just a motion. Oh, for those listening on the audio version, I motioned to Moana on the screen, and she makes masks. I don't know if you heard the part earlier, but she makes masks. And there's going to be a link in the description where you can get masks from Moana. So, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
My final words. Look, do the best you can with what you got, because it's all you get.
Yep.
And don't be a dick. That's basically that's basically it. For our incredible guest, this has been Moana McAdams. She's doing everything, folks.
Yeah.
She's doing everything. She got a streaming service coming out in like 2 hours.
Yep.
She already filmed like 2 seasons of a show. I don't know how she did it. I don't know if it's sorcery, witchcraft. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I got an 8-ball waiting for me, so you know what have you. This gentleman right here is Michael Williams. Beard game is always on point, brother.
Yes. Beard game on fleek.
And that gentleman there, or there.
It's not easy, man. It's not easy. It's not easy. Like, because you want to go boom. Like, I have practice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not easy, brother.
Exactly. Is Antonio Pomeranz, a.k.a. the Hungry Bleak.
Thank you very much. You all have a very good day. Enjoy the rest of it. Brother, I saw a video the other day of rice and beans and empanada. Damn near passed out.
Hey, now y'all making me hungry. You know it's lunchtime.
You know it was real because she said it nonchalantly. Like, y'all know it's lunchtime, right? You know it's lunchtime, right? I don't know if that's how I know she's hungry, because when you fix the wrist, you're like, you know it's lunchtime, right? And you only look at the person when you're saying it.
I loves my food, y'all.
You're not the only one on the screen that does. Believe it. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the rest of it. Go eat something tasty and enjoy the time that you have. All right. It's a beautiful weekend. I mean, it's a little chilly, but it's a beautiful weekend.
Yes,
so enjoy it. Thank you. Have a good day. Peace.
Alrighty, guys.
All right.
Malama pono.
Thank you.